The story begins with an optimistic and hardworking woman named Chi-yu. She has been recruited as a housekeeper for Lin Zhe Yan, an attractive young businessman. On her first day of work, Chi-yu begins cleaning the house without realizing Zhe Yan is there. While she is tidying the room, she is startled to see him approaching her. However, when he doesn't acknowledge her and says nothing, she understands that he's blind. After this, Chi-yu sneaks into the bathroom so he doesn't notice her presence. But this proves to be a serious mistake when Zhe Yan walks into the bathroom to take a shower. So, she has no choice but to see him bathing in front of her eyes, which makes her nervous, but at the same time, she enjoys it. As Zhe Yan steps out of the shower, he realizes there's a female presence in his house. Chi-yu then informs him that she is his new housekeeper. In response, he becomes very angry and yells at her, saying that he doesn't need her. Just then, Zhe Yan's fiancé, Lu, walks in, and seeing them together, demands to know who the woman is. Zhe Yan seems to dislike Lu, and he informs her that she is the new caretaker. Hearing this, Lu becomes irritated and promptly leaves. After this, Zhe Yan informs Chi-yu that he will pay her generously for her services, but she must fulfill 3 conditions. The first condition is that she follows his orders without question. The second condition is that she must be available to him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The third condition is that she must pretend to be his girlfriend if necessary. Chi-yu doesn't have any issues with the conditions, and she needs the money to pay off her debts, so she accepts. As she settles into the job, she finds Zhe Yan to be a very demanding guy, who scolds her for everything, and even rudely tells her to stay away from him because she stinks. This irritates Chi-yu, and she remains patient because she needs the money. When she brings some coffee, Zhe Yan scolds her for using instant coffee instead of the machine. She then looks into his eyes for the first time, and is captivated by his beauty, but she snaps out of it and realizes he's scolding her, and becomes upset. When Zhe Yan stops eating properly, Chi-yu calls his secretary to find out what he liked. After this, she cooks him different meals, hoping that he will finally enjoy it, but the jerk complains every time. One night, Chi-yu enters his room and notices him sleeping restlessly in the throes of a nightmare. Thinking he's sick, she gets closer to him, but he clutches her tightly. She then stares at him and notices how handsome he really is. After that, she spends the entire night tending to him, and falls asleep next to him. The next morning, Zhe Yan awakens to a phone call from his secretary who informs him that he and Chi-yu were photographed in his room, and the rumors are everywhere. Lu obviously gets angry when she learns about the situation, so one of her friends, Sandy, confronts Chi-yu and insults her. But our heroine is not intimidated, and she shouts back instead. Later, after Sandy leaves, Chi-yu is approached by a man named Ling, who praises her for standing up for herself. He turns out to be a good friend of Zhe Yan, and they exchange numbers before leaving. Later, Zhe Yan's mother calls him and reveals that Lu has told him everything. She then urges him to show his fiancé, Lu, more respect. However, Zhe Yan gets angry with his mother and tells her that she was the one who chose Lu for him, and that he has absolutely no feelings for her. Afterward, Chi-yu tells her friend Cheng that she is sick of the situation, but she has to put up with it, because she has made an agreement that she can't break. After a long day of work, Zhe Yan returns home, and is pleased with Chi-yu's work, because everything is exactly as he liked. When he catches her snoring on the sofa, he throws a blanket over her, and she falls down. The following day, Ling contacts Chi-yu and offers to pay her to accompany him to a party. Our heroine is desperate for money, so she readily agrees. Ling then treats her to a complete makeover, making her look gorgeous. At the party, everyone stares at her because she is rumored to be Zhe Yan's girlfriend. It turns out to be Lu's birthday, so she and Sandy approach Chi-yu and berate her for showing up there. When Chi-yu insults them back, a guy tries to hit her, but her friend Cheng arrives just in time to stop him. Soon after, Zhe Yan finds out about this, and scolds Ling for bringing Chi-yu to the party and causing a scene. Later that evening, the lights are turned off and Chi-yu can't see anything. As she feels around for the switch, she accidentally touches Zhe Yan's abs. When the lights turn on, she realizes she's touched him and feels embarrassed. Later, Chi-yu invites Zhe Yan to go out to dinner, because his secretary told her that since he lost his sight, he hasn't set foot in an unfamiliar place. She then brings him to her favorite restaurant. Initially, he acts like a baby and complains about everything, but he begins to enjoy the food and the company. Later on the way home, they are suddenly attacked by thugs. Unfortunately, during the tussle, Chi-yu is stabbed in the arm and loses consciousness. At the hospital, a concerned Zhe Yan stays with her and takes great care of her. Seeing him so worried, Ling realizes Zhe Yan is in love, so he gives him advice on how to impress Chi-yu. Following the advice, our hero tries to seduce her every chance he gets, and although Chi-yu tries to ignore it, she feels butterflies whenever he gets close to her. Next, we discover that Chi-yu's father is a gambling addict, and he has put his family into financial ruin. When Chi-yu learns of this, she angrily confronts her father. She informs him that she's only tolerating him because of her mother who is in hospital. After this, Chi-yu goes to a bar. As she drinks, a man begins to harass her. Fortunately, Ling arrives, intervenes, and takes her home. At home, Zhe Yan looks after her. When he walks away, Chi-yu asks him to stay by her side. Surprisingly, he obliges and kisses her on the cheek. The next day, Zhe Yan visits the doctor and learns that his eyes are healing. However, he tells the doctor not to notify anybody about the news. When he walks out, Lu approaches him and tries to speak with him, but he dismisses her and walks away. As days pass, Chi-yu becomes an expert in the kitchen, fulfilling Zhe Yan's demands. One night, Chi-yu comes down with a cold, so Ching brings her some chicken broth. Zhe Yan is clearly jealous and tells him to leave so that she can rest and recuperate. After that, Zhe Yan tries to touch her forehead to see if she has a fever, but she backs away. At the same time, Zhe Yan trips, and when Chi-yu tries to reach for him, she falls on top of him, and they accidentally kiss. The two are dumbstruck for a second, then they start kissing passionately. The following morning, Zhe Yan also comes down with a cold, and now Chi-yu has to take care of him. Later, his mother visits him in the hospital, and asks about his plans for his marriage to Lu. In response, Zhe Yan coldly tells her that he will not marry someone he does not love. Zhe Yan indirectly commits himself to Chi-yu, and asks her to be patient until his eyesight has fully returned. At that moment, a nurse enters with the needle, causing him to panic, and when Chi-yu sees this, she begins to laugh. Afterward, Lu tries to insult Chi-yu by telling her that she has nothing more than a housekeeper with no future. When Zhe Yan finds out about this, he calls Lu and warns her to leave Chi-yu alone, or she'll face the consequences. In the next scene, Chi-yu's father finds her again and asks for money. She submissively gives him everything she has, but he demands more. When things get intense, Zhe Yan interjects and gives the old man his card. When they arrive home, Chi-yu scolds Zhe Yan for handing over his card, since her father is a money-sucking lost cause. However, our hero gets upset because he didn't even know that she had a father. He accuses her of hiding things, and this causes a heated argument between them. Frustrated beyond words, Chi-yu storms off. On the way, she runs into her friend Chong, who consoles her affectionately. Back at home, Zhe Yan becomes concerned about Chi-yu and calls her, but she doesn't respond. When she finally returns home, he kisses her forcefully, even though she repeatedly asks him to stop. Zhe Yan soon realizes his mistake and apologizes to her. He then takes her to his bed, where she kisses him, and the two make love. The next morning, as Chi-yu jokingly pushes Zhe Yan, he tells her not to hit her husband. All of a sudden, he gifts her with a very precious necklace that his mother had given him for his future wife. Chi-yu is speechless and doesn't know how to react. Later at work, she sits on his lap, and he treats her quite lovingly. One of the office staff notices them and spreads the news about their boss affair. Afterward, while making lunch, Chi-yu receives a phone call from her friend and rushes out without turning off the stove. It turns out that Chong is headed abroad and wants to see her one last time. Although he knows he's too late, Chong confesses feelings to her. However, the honest Chi-yu admits that she likes someone else and walks away. When Chi-yu returns home, she smells something burning and starts to panic. Fortunately, Zhe Yan tells her not to worry, as he arrived home in time and managed to turn off the stove. She notices that he has a minor wound on his hand and asks him how he managed to put the band-aid on. In response, Zhe Yan reveals that he has recovered 40% of his vision, making her happy. The following day, Chi-yu is summoned to the hospital by Zhe Yan's doctor. He gives her the good news that Zhe Yan will soon completely regain his eyesight. Chi-yu is thrilled to hear this, but at the same time, she is confused why the doctor didn't call Zhe Yan. Just then, Lu arrives on the scene. It turns out that she was behind this whole scheme. She tells Chi-yu that she will fix Zhe Yan's eyes and pay for her mother's treatment. However, she has a condition. Chi-yu must stay away from Zhe Yan. Our heroine thinks about it for a while, and accepts a deal for the sake of Zhe Yan and her mother. The next day, Zhe Yan gets ready for surgery and tells Chi-yu that he wants to marry her and can't actually wait to see her when he does. Afterward, Chi-yu cries her heart out and writes a letter for him. She puts the necklace with it and leaves the house. Later, after the successful surgery, Zhe Yan removes his blindfold, but he cannot see Chi-yu anywhere. He then panics and leaves the hospital, despite just having had surgery. When he gets home, he finds the letter, telling him not to wait for her because she has gone abroad. In the following days, Zhe Yan hires a private investigator to track down Chi-yu, but she appears to have vanished off the face of the earth. Lu believes that this is the ideal opportunity to win Zhe Yan over, but he still rejects her. 5 years have passed, but Zhe Yan still can't forget Chi-yu, and hopes to see her again one day. Fortunately, his wish is granted when Chi-yu returns to attend a friend's wedding. Soon after, Zhe Yan finds her, and is surprised to see that she now has a son. They all go out with their friends, and Zhe Yan asks whether she plans to leave again. Just then, the child addresses him as Daddy. Confused, he asks for clarification, and the kid reveals that his mother told him that he is his father. We flash back 5 years when Chi-yu met the doctor. Shockingly, he told her that she was 3 months pregnant. The father was none other than Zhe Yan. Back in the present, Chi-yu and Zhe Yan sit together and sort everything out. He returns the necklace to her and promises that he will never let her go again. Chi-yu then asks about the women he's been with, because there was a rumor that he has become a womanizer after she left. In response, Zhe Yan tells her that they were just actresses he hired. The movie ends as the two rekindle their romance, smile at each other and kiss. Thanks for watching this recap. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next movie recaps. Stay tuned for more exciting recaps.